friends, how are we doing today? I am so excited to talk to you about what I think is the most important theory in science. And don't just take my word for it. Richard Feynman felt the same way. And if you don't know who Richard Feynman is, that's okay. He's the guy who was playing bongos in Oppenheimer, also one of the world's greatest physicists. And I want to talk to you today about the particle theory of matter. And it's a simple theory that explains what matter is. I know I told you matter is anything that has mass and takes up space, but that's not really a lot of detail, is it? So let's break it down a little bit more. What is matter? Well, according to the particle theory, all matter is made of tiny little particles. Look at this one. There's a tiny particle right there. So, one, all matter is made of tiny particles, okay? And those particles are called atoms or molecules. Now, in any substance, and this kind of freaks me out, there is space between the particles. Look over at our particles over here. There is actually space between the particles, okay? So that means technically I could pass my hand right through my hand because there's space between the particles that make up my hand, although I can't really do that because of other forces at play. But isn't that crazy? There's space between all of the particles. Now, what are all of the particles always doing? All of the particles are always in motion, okay? So they're always moving around. Now, in a liquid, the particles can move around each other. They're also attracted to each other. I'll get to that in a second. In a gas, the particles can literally fly right away like that one did. Now, in a solid, they're sort of locked into a pattern, right? We might call that the crystal structure of the matter. But always the particles are in constant motion. So the particles are in constant motion. Now the next one is pretty fun to show you. All of the particles are attracted to each other, okay? Now that's kind of cool. When the particles get close, they stick together. If they're moving by each other, they might, join together like that. But, and this is the most important part of the particle theory of matter. Well, not the most important part, but the part I find the most interesting. Boom. What is temperature? As temperature increases, the particles move faster. Now imagine you have two particles that are stuck together. If you move them fast enough, you can make them come apart. That's called melting. If you keep heating them up, maybe they'll move fully apart from each other, have no attractive forces between each other at all. That's called boiling. That's when you turn a water into a gas. But if they move by each other quickly, they don't stick together. If they move by each other slowly, they absolutely do. And that's the particle theory of matter. It explains what matter is and how it works, and most importantly, it explains change of state. Thank you very much for listening to my video. Peace.